Hi, my name's Chris. I work for the pensions department of Staffline, and I'm doing this video today to talk about Tourette's, which is odd to say because it's not something I've ever really spoken about, to be honest. It's not something people really talk about, I've noticed. I also was diagnosed with anxiety and OCD about 15 years ago, as well as the Tourette's. And what's been great is the conversations we've been having in the last years about anxiety and things like that. And it's been great to have, and it's been great to be able to talk to people about anxiety. And I know a number of people in my life who also have had anxiety or suffered anxiety, and it's been great to be able to talk about it. But I don't know anybody with Tourette's. I don't know anybody who talks about it. You see the odd reference on television, or you might see, but it's rare. I remember the first time I ever encountered anybody with Tourette's on television, I think, was Big Brother. Back in the early stages of Big Brother, I think it was Pete something or other, and he had a very extreme kind of Tourette's. It was very vocal, as well as a very movement-based one as well. Again, I can't remember this. There's two sort of names for there's one for the noises and one for the actions, and I can't remember the technical names for them now. But Tourette's is a bit more of a sort of spectrum. There's different types, there's different manifestations, and there's different levels of severity. And what's odd is, for a lot of the time, I think because that was the only sort of example I saw of Tourette's, you kind of feel like, well, that's Tourette's. And if you don't have all of that, then you don't have Tourette's. And it's only when I read about it and had therapy and things, I realised, no, you can have Tourette's. It can manifest in different ways, and there's different levels of severity. But it's strange to me that no one really talks about it, which is the main reason why I did want to do this video, because I don't know what the statistics are like, and I assume that there's probably a lot less people with Tourette's than there is like OCD and anxiety. But it's odd because I think, like I said, for a lot of people, I think when they think of Tourette's, they think of that kind of like Pete from Big Brother, that very much swearing in public and very kind of often jerking movements and etc. But what's odd is because for a lot of people, there's a lot of people with Tourette's who, like myself, I've been able to spend a lot of my life trying to suppress and hide or disguise, and basically trying to find ways of not drawing too much attention to myself. So I've managed to get good at looking normal, whatever normal is, etc., but trying to fit in. And I think that's what can make it sometimes hard for people to understand, is that when you seem quite normal on the outside, but then they notice something like one of the sort of symptoms of Tourette's, we don't always associate it as, oh, that's Tourette's. It's oh, well, this seemingly fairly normal looking person has got a weird thing. And I don't think people quite realise there's some things which just think that, oh, is he just fidgety? And it's, well, yes, but it's caused by and the things that can trigger, like reacting to things. I often have a sort of reaction to certain things, particularly if I hear things that kind of just sort of trigger. I have a thing of wanting to mimic a lot of times, particularly if I hear like heavy accents, people saying a certain thing a certain way. It's fine when I'm at home because my partner knows it, and it's fine. But in public, I've got to try and hide that because I don't want it to get me into trouble. And since a young age, I've learned how to hide it, because you realise this is weird. I don't want to make people uncomfortable, and I don't want to draw too much attention to myself, and I don't want to be defined by something. Like, I want to be me, without people defining me by it. But even from a young age, I can't remember exactly when, sort of 5 or 6. So this would be about 1990, 91. I was taken to the doctors, but at that stage in history, there was, in recent history, there was nothing really. There was no real awareness about these kind of mental health issues or neurodiversity. I think we would basically just told keep an eye on it. If it's not hurting him and he's still healthy, just keep an eye on it. And it's just one of the things that feels very literally addressed, not very addressed very well. When I got a message from the NHS after I tried to go for therapy and just try and be diagnosed with something. Really, at the time I was bought a book on OCD when I was about 19, and it kind of was fascinating, and it answered some questions but posed a lot more questions than it answered, which led me to try and sort of seek some answers. At that stage, the NHS hadn't really set up any kind of mental health structure yet, so I was kind of passed about a bit. I was diagnosed with perfectionism. I was passed somewhere else where they were kind of looking at other things, and I didn't hear anything for about a year and a half. And then I actually finally got to see somebody. I had a number of weeks of therapy. She diagnosed me with GAD, which is generalized anxiety disorder, and said I also have symptoms of conditions of OCD and Tourette's. But we spent a lot of time in the therapy session talking about the anxiety mainly, and also the OCD, but we didn't really touch on the Tourette's a lot. And I don't know if this is because there's just not a lot that can be done with it. It's one of the things where I've just spent so much of my life just coping with it and dealing with it. You kind of just think, well, that's life. That's just how I am. I've just learned to do it. And sometimes the tics or the manifestations of the symptoms I have may change slightly, but they're always there. You just find ways of dealing with it, find ways of releasing it, trying to delay it. Oftentimes I can just try and suppress it to the point where I can be on my own, which is why, although I love being around people and love socialising, I can't ever do it for too long a period. I do need my alone time. I think because of the anxiety and OCD, that is a factor, but definitely because with Tourette's, I just need that time alone to release. It can take it, and even sometimes there's times where I've just gone to the toilet when I've not even really needed the toilet that much, but I've just needed to release this sort of. It's hard to label it really. I mean, I've only been asked about it a couple of times really by friends in the past, and they've just asked, what are you doing here? What's this? What are you doing with your arm? And I was always quite honest and said, oh, well, I have Tourette's, and they'd always be quite surprised. I was like, oh, really? Like, I didn't think you'd had. But it was nice to actually. I quite liked the fact that they asked and was quite honest and open, because it gave me the chance to be able to say, well, no, it is Tourette's. There is a reason. I'm not choosing to do these things. I'm not trying to weird people out. I'm not trying to. It's not anything else. It's something beyond my control. To a degree, I have a small element of control. Sometimes it depends. I can sometimes hold it, but at some point it's gonna have to come out. With certain tics, I have slightly more control over. Some are more immediate than others. But both of the people that have asked me, and these were different times of my life, have gone on to be good friends, because I really appreciate the honesty. I really appreciated somebody just not acting like it was a big deal, not trying to whisper about it to somebody and ask someone else what's going on with him, or trying to just ignore it but then keeping an eye on it, but just by going, what is this? And then I can explain, because it's not to be able to just I don't want to just walk into a room and go, okay, everybody, sorry, just to let you know, if you see me doing this, it's because I've got Tourette's. It's not really something I want to do, and I don't wax it again. I don't like drawing attention to myself, at least not for those reasons. But the fact of somebody just asking me quite in a non sort of, in a way of just have a friendly chat way of just how it is it, then I'm happy to talk about it. And this is again why I wanted this video, because if anybody has questions about it, I think there's a lot of people who know me who don't always know I have Tourette's. They might just think I'm a bit fidgety, or again, some people just think, oh, you just got some weird little twitches or whatever. I think without realising that there's a lot more that comes with it. I'm just very good at hiding it, and there's a lot of things that will just be released when I'm on my own. But if you ever have any questions, I'm happy to answer any. If there's anybody out there who also has Tourette's, who spends a lot of time hiding it, then I really hope that this helps you feel less alone, because I know anytime I've ever seen anybody with it, and it's just very rare, and I never really get a chance to talk to anybody about it, but if I ever do see somebody on television and I notice the little bits, I go, I can see they've got Tourette's, and it's not always easy to see, because again, we get very good at hiding it. It just helps you feel a little bit less alone, because you spend a lot of time hiding this, and a lot of the parts that go with it, because you hide it a lot, you talk about it a lot, you could sort of suffer in silence type thing, where it can get quite overwhelming sometimes, depending on there's times where it's worse than others. So if this does help anybody, then great. If it just brings a bit of awareness to it for people to maybe consider, if they see somebody, it may be Tourette's, they might answer a few questions for you. But if I'm happy, like I said, I'm happy to answer any other questions. I really hope, I'm really glad that this Neurodiversity Week is happening. I can't wait to see what other people talk about. And I just hope that this has been interesting in some way and of some sort of value. But like I said, if anybody wants to ask me about anything or anyone talks to me about it, I'm perfectly open. I'm happy to talk about it. I have no shame in this. It's not something that I control. It's not something I choose to do. It's just a part of me, but it's not me. So yeah, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy all the rest of the interesting talks that they've done this week. Catch you later. Thank you. Bye-bye.